Recording. All right. It's been a hot minute since we've done this, fellas. I think we've done this once since I've had my third baby. There might be a correlation there.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you have tons of time on your hands, dude. So,
Yeah. So let's get back to this. To my right, Rodney from Florida, freshly retired. He's got the beard going on, the long hair, relaxing. How's the retired life, brother?
doing good, man. Doing good so far. So just hanging in there, chilling out a little bit before I get back in the workforce. Taking a little bit of time to reset and see what
Have
what
you
life's
like
about.
really decompressed? Like, do you feel like that whole work stress, everybody has a little bit of it. You feel like it's gone. You're just like really decompressed.
Well, I retired September 1st, and it feels like it was yesterday. So, I mean, time has flown by so fast. You would think time would slow down when you're not working. It's sped up for me, so, because every day is a Friday. So every day is like,
Sounds awesome.
You don't know what day it is. You don't know what time it is. You don't know anything, man. So, but I'm drinking Dos Equis right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
What kind of mango IPA you drinking, Raj?
Oh, hey, that's coming up after introductions. Mike.
Oh, sorry.
From Utah. You're about to go to Florida, see the Embrees, and take a trip to Disney World. Sounds awesome. What are you sipping on?
Nothing. I have nothing.
You at least need to hydrate, man. You gotta have a water bottle or something.
I know.
I'm still in Colorado Springs. Got a third baby within the last 3 months. She's doing good. I am drinking on, I just saw this today at the store. It's called Bo Echo. It's a hazy IPA.
A fruity
Nice.
hazy. What's a hazy IPA?
I don't know, man.
I think it has a little bit more body into it. It's like it's a little bit more,
Like a
Hazy.
hef is hazy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Today's topic. So I started playing a video game, and Sarah saw me play it, and she only saw me play it for like 5 minutes. This is a new game that's on Game Pass, and she was like, "Sell this game on me because it looks ridiculous." And the game is Death's Door. Have you guys seen it or heard about it? So it's by like it's a small little indie game, and you're basically a crow, like a bird, and you have a sword. And it just starts off in black and white. You go to this like weird reception desk, and this crow's like, "You need to go kill this person. Their time's up. You need to capture their soul." And so it's very dark. You really don't know what's going on, but it is very Zelda-esque. It's got like the top-down view. It's got a lot of puzzles, like dungeons. You get items and stuff like that, but it's super fun to play. I'm so addicted to it right now. I was playing it before I got on here. So I'm trying to explain that to Sarah, and it's like, she's like, "Sell this game to me." And I'm like, "Well," and I basically explained what I did, and got me thinking of, what makes us enjoy video games. I mean, video games are such a huge part of my life, and you as well, Rodney. We kind of grew up playing video games. Mike, not so much, but you do game. And it got me wanting to talk about video games. So that's how I came up with it. So after this, I recommend, which neither of you are going to do, go download this game and play it because it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna play it just for you, Roger.
Dude, you have Game Pass, don't you?
Yeah.
Dude, Death's Door. it's awesome.
Okay.
All right, so where do we begin? Rodney, what's the first video game you remember playing?
It would probably be an Atari, some kind of Atari game. I remember when I was younger, we never had an Atari because, we were so young, and it was video games were fairly home consoles were fairly new. So I'm not sure if we could afford it. There was just, it wasn't really mainstream back then as far as, later on when Nintendo and Sega hit. But I remember playing Breakout, like Super Breakout with the turny controllers that you turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you break these little bricks on top, and you can't, you got to prevent the ball from falling out.
It's real
and
hard
then
to
Pong. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I remember just Atari, and it was always at someone else's house. It was always I think our cousin had an Atari that we used to play with too. And then when we were younger, growing up in the Philippines, but yeah, just the early Atari games. I remember playing that. And then I also I was fortunate to grow up when arcades were really big too. So some of my fondest memories when I was younger is playing Pac-Man and Galaga and Centipede. I mean, those are great like experiences that I still remember playing in an actual arcade. Like it was an event to go to an arcade. Even though you didn't have any money, just watching people play at an arcade was so entertaining to me. But I like to touch on how much video games has grown. So Grand Theft Auto 5, it's made $6 billion. And the highest grossing movie of all time is, I think, Avatar. And it's only made $3 billion. So imagine that. Imagine like how far video games have come. Like, Microsoft is buying Blizzard Activision for $70 billion.
Yeah.
Disney bought Marvel for $4.5 billion. Disney bought Star Wars for $4 billion. So just think about that.
That's
70
crazy. I didn't
billion.
realize that.
Yeah, $70 billion to buy Activision Blizzard.
Yeah.
And and handheld gaming right now on phones, it's so popular and they make so much money. And I think the video game industry is kind of smart, and they're kind of laying low as far as how much money they make. When Hollywood advertises a movie, they're like, oh, this movie's making so much money and so much money. Well, Grand Theft Auto 5 is like, hey, I'm going to sit back. I'm making triple, quadruple times as much as you guys. And I'm not talking about it. They're smart that way.
Yeah.
Like video games have almost taken over the movie making business as far as revenue.
Yeah.
So it's come such a long way.
Yeah. I think for the first time a couple of years ago, video games gross more than movies.
Right.
And since then it's done it every year.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as the public perception of what video games are, I think it's crazy to say this, but I think they're still being kind of underrated is on how much they've impacted society and how people grow up and how we grow up. And as far as like movies as a medium, as far as storytelling, I think video games is getting a lot better in that aspect. It's not just, Call of Duty and blowing things up. It's actually character development and building things and they've come a long way, man.
Absolutely. And I think it's starting to come full circle. And we're kind of skipping a whole lot because I was going to get into arcades. But when you talk about like story driven games, like now it's like, holy shit, I'm like playing a movie. But that stuff was around even when we first started playing video games, like with Final Fantasy 2, like the story in that is what, hooked us in. And it was, 80%
Exactly, yeah.
text.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very interesting. And I think now, like, at least for me, 40 years old, like I'm starting to revert back to that, to, simple games where it's like throwbacks to those OG games and they're making them better. But yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said there. It's a lot, and they have come a long way. Mike, what's the first video game you remember playing?
I think I would probably, I would say it's definitely Atari. We may have had an Atari. I remember my first favorite video game. I I can barely remember the name of it, but what was the Atari game with in the jungle swinging on the vines?
Pitfall.
Pitfall, yeah.
I love Pitfall. And then a close second was Frogger. I love those games. And one of the things that I grew up with, but I mean, I didn't get to play them because I was too little, and my sisters always kind of kicked me out. And the second I started playing them, so I don't think I got a lot of time on them. My first time of actually playing games was so my dad owned a business, and he adopted computers pretty much earlier than most businesses. And so when he upgraded for the first time, I got his 286. They were 286, 386, 486 computers. I don't even know what those numbers meant, but it was like, that was what you bought. Like the 286 was the first iteration, and then you bought more powerful computers. Well, I got the 286 when he upgraded. And so I started learning, and the whole system ran on DOS, right? There was no Windows. And I don't even know how I got them or where they came from, but I just started snooping around and trying to figure out how to get games. And the first couple games I got was Spelunker, which I love that game. I absolutely love Spelunker. And then I got really into the first iterations of SimCity.
Nice.
And I played SimCity a lot. And then I don't even know how I discovered it, but there was like a SimCity hack where you could get this program and build your own world so you wouldn't be random. So you could build the land and the water and do all that stuff. And I spent hours doing that stuff when I was a kid.
SimCity, I
And-
remember playing that. That's definitely a time sink right there.
Yeah, I
Um,
loved it. I love SimCity. And I remember how they would do like earthquakes or like major events and like damage everything. And you'd have to, or you would put it in a nuclear power plant, and then it would inevitably have a huge accident and you'd have to clean it up somehow. But I remember like I would play the game, and then, you'd have all these problems in your city. And then I would go, okay, I'm going to design a city that is going to be perfect. I'm not going to have any problems. And that was always the challenge. And that was a lot of fun. That was
yeah.
a lot of fun. So those were my first. I mean, I got into Nintendo and Mario a little bit. And the NBA, the NBA games, that probably like Lakers versus Celtics. No, it was Bulls. Which game
It
was
was Jordan versus no. Was it
Jordan
Magic
versus Bird? Or
that?
Magic
No,
versus.
it was Jordan. Yeah, it might have been Jordan versus Bird, or like, I remember that game. I loved it. But the only games I think I really ever dug deep on when I was a kid was probably the SimCity games and Spelunker that were on my computer. And what's funny is Spelunker was one of my favorite games. And then after I'd had my dad's 286 forever that he gave to me, he upgraded again, and I got a faster computer. Well, those systems were like, that game was made for a 286. So I put it on my dad's computer, and all of a sudden the game was like going at like 10x speed, way faster, and I couldn't slow it down. And so I quit playing it because it didn't work on the new computer really.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it was fun, but those were really the first games that I got super into. And you know what? Those games are probably the reason why, like, I can figure out computer stuff now, because loading and installing computers on DOS and figuring out problems and searching, and like, you had to be dedicated to really problem solve in DOS. And so just that habit of how you problem solve, I think, is why I'm slightly above average with computers.
Yeah, it was definitely, there was no easy mode when it came to computer gaming back then.
Oh, it was, yeah, you could destroy your computer.
And even having access to it. I mean, we didn't have access to a computer till a long time, my family.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I think maybe high school.
Yeah, I was young, and I knew, because my friends, they were all, not wealthy families, but well-to-do families, and they never had computers. And the only reason I did was because of my dad's business.
Yeah.
And so I felt real lucky, and my friends would come over and kind of be blown away by a computer.
That's interesting, because your path to video games is a lot different than me and Rodney's, with PC gaming. And even now, like PC gaming is still not as easily accessible
Yeah.
as console gaming. And that I think that's what the first game I think I really remember like holy cow, this is awesome. I love doing this was probably Super Mario, the first one. Um, I remember playing like Galaga and uh, a couple of those older arcade games you were talking about, Rodney, but I think it was like, where you had the controller in your hand and you're at home. We're at, one of our friends' houses and playing Super Mario for the first time was like, wow, this is incredible. And then like what was it, the track and field? One of our friends had the pad where you ran and jumped and did all that. I mean, that
Yeah,
was
track and field was awesome.
yeah. And it's crazy because we've pretty much when I see these video game documentaries of like how it all started, we weren't there at the very beginning, but we're pretty much there, like with Nintendo coming mainstream and then like arcades being a big thing. Like every time I see those like documentaries, like I'm like, I remember all this. And
Yeah. It
it
was like the golden age of video games, you know, when
it was,
Nintendo
man.
first, the Nintendo Entertainment System, like those games were so, it really opened you up to a different world. I mean, you had Mario, and then from Mario you progressed to Ghost and Goblins, and from Ghost and Goblins you progressed to Contra, then Battle to like it was
Contra,
always a
yeah.
great progression and great, the graphics got better, and it was like an event. It was, it really was the golden age of gaming. And then the Super Nintendo came out, and then Genesis came out. So it was always like evolving and getting better and getting better.
Yeah.
The thing about it now is I think technology is so strong that I hope not. Maybe I think virtual reality might take a bigger role 10 years from now, 5 years from now. But we've kind of hit a plateau with technology where games right now are just so good looking, and so, technology,
Yeah.
it looks so good.
It's like I want to play Rocket League at 144 frames per second. I don't
Right.
want to play it at like even though it looks amazing at 60 and 4K on my TV, it's like I'm gonna play it at 1080p and I want it as smooth as possible. So yeah, it has like those leaps we used to get from like Nintendo to Super Nintendo was like, oh my gosh, this looks so amazing. Like it looks
Yes.
so real. Like
Remember the ads for Dreamcast and how Dreamcast was billed as like the most amazing console of all time, and it was
Yeah.
dude, my friend had a Dreamcast
We
and
had a
like
Dreamcast, Raj. We had a Dreamcast.
you had a Dreamcast. I
Oh,
didn't have
maybe
a
I had a
Dreamcast.
Dreamcast. I love that Dreamcast, dude.
Dude, we
I
used to play NFL like 2K on it, and it was the most amazing football game ever. I
Yeah.
mean, it was just incredible. Um, but yeah, those leaps and bounds, like they're just not there anymore. But there are games now that like have 4K and HDR, and it's just like yeah. I mean, it's there. It's just not as mind blowing as it was going from 8-bit to 16-bit or whatever.
Yeah. Then the 32-bit, then the CD,
Yeah,
then this from cartridges to CDs,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know that it's ever going to be that way anymore, though.
Yeah.
I don't think
Because
so either.
even with movies, like I watched like the last Matrix, and I'm trying to like bring, before we watched it, I was trying to bring Gabe, my son, up to speed on the Matrix, and like how cool this stuff is when it hadn't been done before and it hits you for the first time. I don't think they get much of that because it's all been like, all these mind-blowing things are already out there and they've already happened. And it's like, when was the last movie that blew your mind, like a Matrix movie or a video game that blew your mind that it was so awesome? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't happen for me.
it is a little bit harder. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like the first time I saw The Matrix, obviously my mind was blown. I saw it like 5 times in the movie theater, but um, arcades. Did you go to arcades a lot growing up, Mike?
Um, I wouldn't say a lot, but I did long to go for them. What's funny is when my parents were in the middle of the divorce and I was sort of being tossed around between the two. One of the babysitting techniques that I frequently suggested was, listen, give me $5 and just leave me alone at the arcade, and that was a lot of quarters. That was a massive pocket full of quarters. And my favorite games. What was the driving game where it was a driving game, right?
Cruising
You're driving down the
USA?
road. Huh?
Cruising USA?
No, you had guns on your car, and a plane would come and drop like a special gun when you hit something on top of your car. What was that game called?
I don't remember.
I don't remember, man.
Yeah, and that was the first one. I would search for that, and
Road
it was
Rash?
actually arcade too. I would search for that, play that game. That was my favorite. But yeah,
So one thing that I am very thankful for, and it makes me sad when I see an arcade now, because it's like, man, this arcade sucks compared to the arcades me and Rodney used to go to growing up, because the arcades were the shit back then. Like we would spend hours in there.
Yeah.
Remember during like the golden age of fighting games, man? Like
It was
how
crazy,
many
dude.
how many quarters did we spend playing Street Fighter 2 and like Mortal Kombat? Like,
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'd have like, we weren't rich or anything, but I'd have like 4 quarters, and I'd hold those 4 quarters in my hands, and I'd strategically plan to use those 4 quarters. Now, if someone was like kicking ass in Street Fighter 2,
you would
I would debate whether to fight him, because I would lose that quarter. Like that
Yeah.
quarter meant my hands would be sweating. I would be sweating. Like, do I really want to fight this dude? Because
Yeah.
that quarter is going to be wasted if he's going to smoke you.
Yeah.
But or I played Final Fight. Like Final Fight was like one of my favorite games, arcade games growing up.
Awesome game.
Yeah, and I used to love playing Final Fight, but again, just strategically trying to fit in where you want to play so your quarter could last that much longer.
Yeah.
With Mortal Kombat and Final Fight and Street Fighter and all those great. I'm glad you remember those arcades, Raj, because you were so young. And
Dude,
you still remember those arcades, so that's cool.
Dude, yeah, it was so intense, man. Like I get that quarter and you put it on top of
You put it on top,
right
yeah.
near the screen. You're like saying, this is mine. I'm playing when my quarter comes up.
Yeah.
Pop it in there, and like you've been watching this dude dominate for like 30 minutes, just kicking everybody's ass, and like you finally get up there, and it's like, oh my god, like it was such an event, man. And like
it was like getting a gladiator's ring, like your life depended on it.
And there was like 10, 15 people like surrounding this cabinet, and like it was just intense, man. And I don't think our kids will ever feel that. Yeah. Or understand the enjoyment of like going to the arcade and you're like, oh shit, there's a lot of people here today, like this is intense. Or even like just playing the Simpsons game where it was 4-player, or like Ninja Turtles, and like people were just popping quarters. You finally get to the end and you beat it, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I've been on this cabinet for like 2 hours playing video games. Like,
did you guys ever have this felt a little outside of the arcade when arcades had died, but when they started putting video games in like in where I grew up, they started putting video games in grocery stores. And we had NBA Jam at the local grocery store. The one where you would jump like 50 feet in the air and do all the
stuff. That was a fun game. Yeah.
Dude, people, that was the only experience I really had, that game of like people would meet there, because there was only like 2 games at the grocery store, and that was one of them. And people were like meeting there and playing that game. That's the only real experience I had of people competing and.
Oh yeah, I mean NBA Jam, yeah, that was definitely a good arcade game. Definitely.
I found that one game I played. It's called Road Blaster. You guys recognize that? You're always driving towards that kind of like skyline, that city skyline.
Yeah.
Love that game.
I used to love Daytona USA, man.
Daytona USA was awesome. But the graphics on it were like mind blowing at the time.
Yeah,
man.
at the time, yeah.
Golden Axe. Remember Golden Axe? That was a fun game.
Golden Axe, yeah.
All right, so yeah, it's just I love the arcade scene, man. It'll never be the same. I mean, maybe in like Japan and like some places like that, but in middle America where you go to any mall and that arcade was like the place to be. It was so cool. So when like watching like Stranger Things and they're all like super pumped to go to like the arcade, like I know what they're feeling. Like it was awesome. So I think moving on, Super Nintendo. I think Super Nintendo is probably the strongest console for me growing up. It is literally got the most influential video games of all time, like in that generation. From Super Mario World, which is probably one of the greatest games ever made.
Yeah.
It is truly unbelievable. Like the music, like the levels, there's like 1,000 levels in that game, and each one is like perfect. Truly is phenomenal. And it came with the system. Super Metroid, Zelda, Link to the Past. I mean,
Yeah, and it came with a great controller, man. That controller's freaking classic, dude. On a Super Nintendo,
it's one
man.
of the best controllers ever made. Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah,
it's
I
one of my
remember
favorite systems.
when I first got a hold of that controller, I was like, look, what, all these buttons? This is
Yeah,
like,
4
there's no
buttons.
way.
Like, this is crazy, man.
There's no way someone could use them all at the same time.
Dude, I remember the first time I ever played a Super Nintendo. Was that Pete? Was it Zimmelman?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got one, and like you were already over there because he was your friend, obviously, but like you guys are like, he was kind enough to be like, yeah, man, come on over, check it out. And I remember like seeing it for the first time and holding the controller and playing Super Mario, and I was just blown away by the amazingness of the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. I mean, that's a desert island game you could play on a desert island for like the rest of your life. One of my favorite games of all time is Legend of Zelda. I have a poster in the back of it, A Link to the Past, which is it's probably one of my favorite games ever. And I still have fond memories of beating that game and trying to figure out how to beat the last guy.
Yeah.
Where you use your butterfly net to help beat him that you obtain in the beginning of the game. Like you have all these powerful weapons. You have, the hook shot, the sword, the master sword, bow and arrows, but you got to use a butterfly net to help beat Ganon. Like just stuff like that blows your mind, when you're a kid.
That, and like I feel like I have good problem solving skills as a human. And I attribute it to A Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Like going through the puzzles and the dungeons, like at a young age has, I feel, made me a smarter person with being able to like adapt and figure out a solution in everyday life, not just video games, like everyday life. I attribute that to The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past.
Yeah.
And I tell that to Sarah, like when I'm trying to like convince her of like, positives of video games. That is one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's problem solving. Yeah.
What is how much Sarah plays some video games, doesn't she? Not at all?
No.
What's her position going to be with your girls?
I mean, she's not against it. Obviously, you got to have everything in moderation. And my girls haven't really seen me play video games yet because the only time I play is when they're in bed.
You know, Gabe, my only real gamer, Addie goes through phases where she does play. Gabe's my real gamer, but he didn't get into it till 9, 10. I mean, he had access to it, but he didn't have any interest in it.
Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing about, I think the plus and the minus of modern gaming though, is like what I see with my son, is the one thing is he interacts with his friends a lot every day, like a lot. It's all online, right? They're all like, I even the other day, Raj, when I was hopping on with you at like 10 o'clock at night, it was like Friday or whatever we did. And I was waiting for you and I saw Gabe was in a party with like 7 people and they're just playing some random game and just having some, you know, they're not even talking. They rarely talk about the game. They're just in there chatting and having, I mean, and the thing is too, we get mad at Gabe because he screams so much, but it's like he's having a blast every single day.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So I think there's some benefit into being bored, right? And having an imagination and having alone time and like downtime. Definitely a benefit there. But Gabe is having like this amazing time every single day with his friends playing these games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like an okay time, an amazing time.
And see that, and that's what's good, because back when like Mario Kart came out and like GoldenEye, like for the Embry household growing up, we had like every system, and majority of the weekends, like, or even during the summer, all my friends were staying at our place. And we were having these late night sessions of playing video games till 5 a.m. Like,
you remember playing Madden before you went to school? You used to like play Madden before you went to school in the morning.
Yeah,
you would
man,
wake up early. You would say, "The hell, I'm not waking up early for school. I'm going to wake up early for Madden, dude."
Dude,
And you would play Madden with your friend.
Yeah.
Leonard
Praylor would come to my house and we would play like a few games of Madden before he went to school.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Like on this old ass, like 13-inch
in your room. Yeah.
TV. Like, yeah, we did it all the time, man. And that's what's kind of cool is like, they still kind of get that interaction because obviously they're in a big party, they're all laughing, they're having all fun. But we used to do that old school, like Lance style, you know, it was like everybody was in this hot, stinky room. Like we were drinking soda, we were
drinking Mountain Dew.
Yeah, like we just did it live, man. Like there.
You can't do that now.
Yeah, now it's like, dude, go home. Like, let's just do this online.
Well, no, I mean, but like what games can you do that you can 2-player on the same machine, on the same TV?
You can do it on Rocket League, but it's like, why would we ever do that? It's like,
yeah.
I mean, but Rocket League's kind of the exception though.
We play Mario Party as a family, which is fun on the Switch. So, I mean, there's games like that, but I mean, Mario Kart, like Mario, you know, you could do that as a family. Those are great family games that you can just mess around with and stuff. But yeah, it's not very many games like feature that as a selling point now, just because obviously
it's online. Yeah.
It's online.
Yeah, but it does feel dumb because the games are so visually like unbelievable. When you cut that in half, you're like,
yeah,
true.
Then
like, dude, we used to play GoldenEye, like 4 players split screen on like
we're playing split screen GoldenEye
on a 20-inch TV. Now it's like we have a 50-inch TV and we get half the screen. It's like, dude, this sucks. Get it, like, go downstairs on the other 50-inch so we can play.
Mm-hmm.
But so
why was GoldenEye so much fun? And they can't, like, what other game is as fun as GoldenEye that's like it? Why was that so much?
The first Halo's still a classic, like gameplay wise and stuff. But.
Well, I think the reason why GoldenEye was such a big deal is because it was on a Nintendo console. Like, I mean,
the controls were rock solid. Dude,
yeah, Doom had multiplayer LAN stuff, but everybody had to have a computer, and it was amazing. But also, the 64 had 4 controller ports.
Yeah.
So you could play 4-player easily.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
And it was just, it was so new for console players that it was like, this is amazing. So I think that's why it had such a huge huge thing. Which brings me to one of my next points is what's the first online game you remember playing? Like what was the first experience? It doesn't have to be your first experience.
It was a game for me. It was a dream because the Dreamcast was one of the first console systems that you could go online with. So with my Dreamcast, I bought a game called Power Stone. It was a fighter game. It was kind of like 4-person fighting game. And that was the first game I remember going online and fighting people. And it was a game called Power Stone. It was like a brawler, which was a very fun game. So that's one of the first games.
Was there like voice communication or just?
No, there wasn't. And then and Phantasy Star Online too on a Dreamcast. I love my Dreamcast, dude. I mean, it was an underrated kind of machine. It was very powerful, and like I said, it was like one of the first systems that had decent online capability.
Yeah.
And Phantasy Star Online, Power Stone, like those are online games that were great for the time. Those are the earliest games I remember playing online.
What about you, Mike?
Man, I can't remember. Like that would be, I don't really remember because I think there was a big gap for me in junior high to high school. Like, I don't think I played a lot of console games, and then my computer gaming, like there was a lull there because of a lot of stuff that was going on in my life, but I don't think I played a lot. And by the time I really started playing them again, I was a lot older, like my early 20s. And when I was in the military and then through there, I don't think I played much. I think the first one I really played was probably like Battlefield 2, maybe.
Really?
Yeah. So it was way later. I mean, I bet I played one or two, games like at a friend's house. I played like a game or two or something online, and I thought that was great. But the one that I really had access to and did was probably Battlefield 2 is the first one I can really remember.
Okay, so I think I got lucky with my first iteration with online gaming. I had the first Xbox, and for you to go online, you had to have broadband internet, which was like, everybody was like, are you kidding me? Like, you have to have broadband? Like, that's BS. Shit's gonna suck, whatever. Well, I happened to live with my friend we lived in his parents' basement, and they had broadband. So the first game I remember playing was Halo 2 on Xbox, and you had like the headset, and I remember teaming up and like getting into lobbies with a bunch of people I knew, and it was like the greatest experience I ever had at that time in gaming. Like, it was just unreal to be able to talk to people, like, while they're at their house playing Halo. Halo 2 has got to be one of the funnest games I've ever played. And I don't even like Halo. But that was
and probably toxicity probably wasn't a thing back then either, because it was such brand new technology. Maybe it was there
man.
A little bit, but
you met a lot of cool people, because now with like online gaming, let's say you play Call of Duty, like nobody's in comms because most people are in parties already, so they're not in like the lobby party, so there's no communication. Back then everybody was in the lobby. It was like everybody talked to each other on the team, so it was really cool. And that's a good point. I totally forgot about that. But yeah, online gaming, like Halo 2 definitely changed the world of online gaming. I know you haven't dove into this game very much, Mike, but Rodney, how would you explain the first time you played World of Warcraft?
World of Warcraft, I remember when I was doing an ER shift with my buddies, when I used to work ER, and you get a night shift and you just start talking. And one of the guys said, you need to play, why don't you play World of Warcraft, man? It's like, it's an online game, you could, it's pretty fun, So I said, okay, I'll give this game a shot. and I played it and I was on it. And the thing about World of Warcraft is it just made me relax and try to discover a new world, how corny and nerdy that sounds. But being like a different race and then doing, it was like a mini, like a mini world building kind of for me to kind of forget my troubles or forget my shift work in the ER, with the busy. It was just me to go in, log in, and try to build your character. Try to build your, get gold, build character. Like, it was just world building for me. That's how I thought about it. I didn't PvP. I just did the quest, and it made me, it was comforting to me to finish a task on the computer where I knew exactly what to do. They told me exactly how to do it, and I did it, and I got rewarded for it. That was the main reason why I played World of Warcraft. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go into a dungeon. I'm going to beat this monster, and I'm going to come back and get rewarded for it, and then go to bed, and then do it again tomorrow. It was as simple as that. And then it evolved for me, and I still play it today. It evolved for me of actually, where I want to build a powerful character, fight someone online that's another human being, and kick his ass and feel good about it. Like, making that guy feel bad of losing a match towards me made me feel good. Like, I would be pissed if someone beat me. Well, I wanted that person, that human being, not an artificial intelligence, to feel that, like, hey, I kicked your ass. And to me, how mundane that sounds, or how caveman thinking that is I want to kick someone's ass that's an actual human being and make them say shit or fuck. Like, hey, I lost that match. Yes, because I was better at you. That's the primal feeling I had when I play World of Warcraft. Yes, I'm gonna kick your ass because I'm better than you. That's what it is.
Yeah. World of Warcraft to me is another gaming experience that I'll never experience again. And it had me for a couple of years. And I started playing it when I lived with, Mike and Anna. And the game had been out for a few years at this point. I think it was right when Lich King came out. And where I worked at, there were a few kids that went to the school at Job Corps that played. And so I picked it up, and they had been playing for a while. So they were already max level, like level 80. And I was just this, level 1 undead warlock. And I remember like going to Orgrimmar for the first time. And
I remember that too.
Yeah, after playing the game, like leveling up, it's like, yeah, you got to do this. They're kind of showing me the way. It was like, man, I want a level 80. And I was like level 5. They're like, let's go to Orgrimmar. This is the main city everybody goes to. So I get like shown how to go there, and I have to like take a Zeppelin, and then I have to like walk over there. And I remember walking up to this city. And in a video game world, it's like, you don't walk up to like a huge city like you do Orgrimmar. Like, it's something I've never done before in my 20 years of playing video games.
Yeah.
And there were like hundreds of people out like in front of the entrance. And there was like these level 80s like dueling and like just doing the craziest things. And like, I had no idea what these people were doing, but they seemed like 10 feet taller than my character. They had like the coolest armor. They're doing like the coolest spells I had never seen. And they were just like dueling, like and it was two real people, it was just insane to see like an actual city of people controlling all these people. And it was like a real live city.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. It was completely phenomenal. Like, I'll never get that feeling again playing a video game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still feel that way somewhat, like in PvP, in World of Warcraft, when I see, someone that's a gladiator ranking on a gladiator mount, they're less than 1% of the best PvPers in the world. And
Yeah.
those guys are just badass. Like, you feel like, damn, this guy's on this big ass dragon that only less than 1% of the player base has. And he's sitting in front of how nerdy that sounds. I know. He's sitting in front of
flexing
Ogamon,
that mount. Yeah.
flexing that mount that less than 1% of the people, like, he's a badass,
Yeah, because as you
So-
go on, like you start to pick up on things like that. It's like, holy shit, this dude's the top 1% player in the game. Like,
Yeah. But
it truly is incredible. And then I fell out of World of Warcraft, but some of the coolest things I've ever experienced in video games happened in World of Warcraft. Like, there'd be like certain events going on, and then like Horde and Alliance would be like battling it out, like in some random area in the world, and like people are just coming in left and right. Different guilds are coming in, people are getting pissed, other guilds are coming in, and it's just like
Yeah.
a literal like war between like real people. It truly was incredible. I had so much fun playing World of Warcraft.
Well, here's one story I got to say about World of Warcraft. You know how people say, video games, especially MMOs, could be a waste of time. I had this big inspection at work, and one of the inspectors saw my mouse pad of World of Warcraft, and he was an inspector. He was inspecting my clinic, and he looked at that mouse pad that had a World of Warcraft guy on it, and before he left, he goes, "What do you roll, blue or red?" So I said, damn, I better answer this question because he's an inspector. He's grading me. And I go, I roll red. He nodded at me, winked at me, and I passed that inspection with flying colors. No, I thank Warcraft for that, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, it truly is. Like the relationships of the people in that, like getting an event and even like guild chat and like just interacting with so many people. It was so cool, man.
Yeah. And
So
I
cool.
truly believe that he passed. He gave me a little bit more credit because I rolled Horde and he rolled Horde too. And he waited till the end to ask me, what did I roll? So, hey.
You're like, for the Horde.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. So after hearing us talk about World of Warcraft for the last 10 minutes, someone being from the outside, what do you think of World of Warcraft?
Well, I think of it differently because I know you guys and you play it. But I remember when I first saw it, I was like, this is the dorkiest game ever.
I
Just
felt the same way
because-
too.
Just because of the language you use when you talk about it. You're like spells and the casting a spell and this and that. I'm like, this is the dorkiest game ever. But one thing, because I've never played it, I've just watched it. One thing I've always wanted was a world that's as big as that world. And that's one reason why, like, I really like Red Dead, because just the world is big enough that you really, just exploring it is fun just by itself. And I think I really do like that MMO world where it's just, there's so many people in one location, and it seems like it could be cooler though. I have to say, like I always thought, like, why couldn't you make other games in those bigger worlds? And why couldn't you create other scenarios that maybe other people would play? That game, I always compared that game and like Eve, that massive like game Eve, and I've always wanted to play that one. But every time I read about it, like, how do you get started? I just am like instantly intimidated. I'm like, I don't have time for this.
Dude, Eve is like World of Warcraft with the difficulty times 50, dude.
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah, when you die in Eve, you lose everything or something,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah, you lose real life.
Well,
shit.
Like, yeah.
The thing that makes me interested in these games is the articles that you read about them. Like didn't World of Warcraft, like, there was some computer virus somebody put in World of Warcraft and it passed around the community like a real virus. Like, you'd
Yeah.
come in contact with other players and they studied it to see how the virus
Yeah.
spread.
Yeah.
And then that Eve, I read a really big article about this massive EVE battle that just took place among all the players, and there was like real world value in the hundreds of thousands of dollars lost in that battle. And I'm like, what? Like it's hard to comprehend and understand. And it made me wish I was playing EVE. Like I wish I was there. That would have been unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, there's a danger to the games like that though, with MMOs. Like there's an addictive quality about it. That's why, you have to have a certain item, you have to have a certain status in it. That's why these boosting services are so popular now. I could spend $300 if I want real money to get to a certain rank in PvP called boosting. Like people, that's the dangers of this online gaming kind of thing, where the gambling aspect kind of gets into it, where you got to get more gear, because the way they're designed is they want you to keep playing the game, so they have these rewards that are almost impossible to get unless you keep playing and playing and playing. And that could be kind of the dangers of what kind of online gaming could be. And like Roger said at the beginning of the podcast, it's all about moderation. And people play World of Warcraft like constantly, all 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day, easy. Just because
that's what World of Warcrafters are known for, is the binge session. And never coming out of your room.
Yeah. And people will farm a mount like hours a day just to get that 1% drop rate on a mount, because they're worth $500, $700 on the black market to get a mount. And you could play World of Warcraft for 1 hour and get a mount that's worth $500, $700. Or you could play like 15 years. I've been trying to get this mount. It never dropped for me. 15 years, this mount has never dropped for me. And you could have a player that's been playing 10 minutes and it drops for him.
Yeah.
So there's a gambling aspect to World of Warcraft also. So.
Yeah, World of Warcraft. So that kind of brings up open world games like Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto 5. Not my cup of tea, because there's so much shit to do. I can't focus and I can't get through the game without being sidetracked by 8,000 different things, which is different than like an MMO. But I think it's the perfect game for Mike, because
I already know what you're gonna say. I already know.
Mike loves these games, and there's two examples that I laugh about every time. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 just came out, and I like walk into the house, and Mike, he's like super pumped about playing this Grand Theft Auto. Like there's literally anything you could do in Grand Theft Auto 5, like airplanes, climb mountains, whatever. So I go walk in the room, and Mike is on like a tractor in the middle of a field, freaking like farming vegetables. I don't fucking know. Like, why? Out of all the things you can do in Grand Theft Auto, he's literally on the slowest vehicle in the game, a tractor, and he's having the time of his life.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the problem with that game, is that I was probably doing something, like I had some purpose, and I ended up in that area, and I was like, oh, I've never driven a tractor before. I just stopped what I was doing and got on that stupid tractor and drove around for a minute. And it was like,
and then there's another one. When Red Dead Redemption came out, Mike starts playing, and he gets like sidetracked where he's got to go hunt this bear down. It's like near the beginning of the game, he's like, oh shit, like there's legends of this bear. I'm gonna go find this bear. So he like goes and he finally kills this bear, and then he goes back to camp, and he finds like someone who could turn this fucking bear skin into the biggest hat I've ever seen. So he's got this giant hat that he's made out of like an exotic bear skin, and he's so pumped.
Ridiculous looking thing.
He's so pumped up about this hat, and I'm like, seriously, out of all the things, this is what you do with your time. And
The best part of that hat was you'd walk around the towns and the townspeople would stop and make fun of you. They'd stop and be like, geez, what are you wearing?
and Mike was so pumped up about it. Like, and I think I enjoy watching Mike play those games more than I enjoy playing like a Red Dead Redemption or a Grand Theft Auto 5 because he just kind of does his own thing and it just makes me laugh. But anyway,
But I could find that photo. I bet you I saved that in my camera roll somewhere.
I'm pretty sure you probably nudged me. It was like, what do you think of this hat, dude? I'm like,
I laughed so hard when I put that hat on.
Oh yeah, it was classic Mike. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up here soon. We've been on for almost an hour. What we're pretty stuck in our games right now. At least I feel like I am. I feel like I branch out a little bit more than you two when it comes to video games. The main game I play is Rocket League. I think it's a phenomenal game. The skill ceiling on Rocket League is literally unlimited. But I like to branch out and play like Ori. The Ori games I think are phenomenal. 10s all around, must play games. You guys need to play them. But Rodney, what's it gonna take for you to play a different game other than World of Warcraft?
Well, I thought about this a lot, and I would like to branch out because I am a video game fan. I've always been, and I played Dark Souls and I enjoyed it, and I played Cuphead. Games right now are just so hard right now. Like I'll play them for a couple hours and I'll get frustrated. The thing about World of Warcraft, I play AFK. I'll go on YouTube. I'll watch NFL. I'll do something else while I'm playing World of Warcraft. And the thing about World of Warcraft, I play PvP. So I go in there, I do a battleground, and I'm done. So the mission is done. So I don't have to worry about anything else. That's all it is. It's almost like a puzzle game. It's almost like playing Tetris. Like you do it like it's like Rocket League, dude. Right? You go in, you play a match, and you're done. Right? There's no story. There's no nothing that you have to worry about. It's hard to me to invest in a lot of time trying to figure out where to go, the story. I can't play a game AFK like I play World of Warcraft. Right?
I totally get that because, like you said, I play Rocket League, and it's 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Maybe in overtime. 5 minutes. Yep. Once it's done, it's done. You go on to the next one, and you could do that while watching a movie, whether how serious you are, if you're in competitive, whether you're in casual, whatever. It's ideal as a father of 3, where it's like, oh, I got 10 minutes. I can play a game real quick. But I want you and Mike to branch out like Hades. Dude, Hades is a phenomenal game, dude. You can beat the game in 25 minutes. You can beat the game in 15 minutes. And it truly is, it takes me back to why I fell in love with video games. Something like Hades or something like Death's Door, which I'm playing right now. And Ori, dude, the Ori games are phenomenal, man. Like in my top 10 games of all time. But I want you to branch out. And because I know you love video games, I know you experienced just as much as I have. And Mike, I know you love Battlefield, but I would love for you to play Death's Door and see what Zelda is all about.
Okay, well.
All right. Well, yeah. I
Hey,
mean,
look.
you sound like Justin, man. Justin's been trying to get me to branch out for years, man. He plays video games a lot, and he actually finished. He's like a completionist with video games. He actually finishes a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
his games,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
he's telling me exactly what you're telling me. He goes, Dad, you need to stop playing something else, man. Like, there's just too many good games out
There
there.
are,
to miss.
man. There's
Yeah.
so many good games. Even like Stardew Valley, man. When I was deployed, like Stardew Valley's a farming game, and I fell in love with it, man. I've got like a couple hundred hours in that game. Like,
Yeah.
Roger, I
need-
did discover the here, let me blow this up. I don't know if I can. There I am.
Is that that? Yes. That's awesome, dude.
I bet you if I logged on to that game, which I haven't, and I don't even know how long, I bet my character is still wearing that.
That is awesome.
So, do you think all three of us will actually have fun playing World of Warcraft from the beginning together, Raj?
Yeah, I mean, I think any game that we could play together, we'd absolutely have fun, no matter what it is.
What
Dude,
if we
that'd be
do a
cool.
PC game? We should do a PC game because I'm so mediocre and sometimes really bad on Xbox just with the controller. But PC games, I can adapt real quick with those.
The thing about World of Warcraft is you have to pay for it.
Well, here's the thing: Final Fantasy is actually taken over World of Warcraft. Final Fantasy is free to play till you get to the new expansion. I don't know. It's Final
Wait a
Fantasy.
second. So Rodney's pulling the reverse. He's doing the reverse Uno
I
card
know,
out.
man. He's trying to pull us into an MMO. I'm trying to get you guys to branch out.
You're
man.
trying to pull him out. He's like, no. Let's all do it.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about
I
MMO
think-
is they're not Twitch games. Like shooters are Twitch games. I'm not good at that.
You're not good because you never play them.
Yeah.
I can play a shooter on a PC, but I cannot do it on an Xbox. I am
Even-
horrible.
Even like the new Warzone Call of Duty is free to play.
Yeah,
Like,
but there's so many good people on there. They're headshotting you. Like it's just insane, dude. I don't know, but I haven't. I'm sure if I put time into it, I'm sure I could get the hang of it. Honestly, but
I think what we should do is we should find a game that none of us have played, research it, so we're all like, I could get into this, and then we all do it a Friday and
I think
Saturday
that's
night.
the plan. That was a plan 3 years ago. We never.
Yeah, I know, and we never did it. We just need to
Yeah.
say we're
Well,
gonna do it.
we played Rocket League one night and it was solid. But Rocket League is a little different because
I just don't know how to have the controls to play Rocket League competitively. It's hard. It's a hard game to learn, man. It's
It is.
easy to learn, but it's hard to master.
I mean,
Is that fair?
I was exactly how you were when I first started playing. The difference is I have like 600 hours in Rocket League.
Yeah. The thing
Um,
about Rocket League is the controls are just when you can't like they're. I don't know. I just got to get used to it. It's a cool game. I get why people play it. Like it's a very addicting like game. Like it's like a PV. Like I said, it's like PvP, dude. You
Yeah.
play both. So
Yeah. I mean, we have to find something though, man. As much as we enjoy each other's company, there's got to be a game we can all freaking play at the same time.
we'll figure it out. So
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Next podcast, we'll figure it out.
All right.
So seriously,
I got to get a PC, which is close and in my future. But
no, you need to go download Death Store on your Xbox and play it.
okay, I'm looking at it.
And then Rodney, man, I really think you should buy Hades, man. Hades won like game of the year, like 1,000 different magazines. How you not gonna play?
Oh, I know. I trust me. I know that. Yeah, I know it's a good game.
It's also on Game Pass, which Death Store is also on Game Pass. So
Yeah. Maybe I'll get a brand new Xbox and put it in here or something. I don't know.
yeah. All right. Well, last thoughts for tonight. Hardest boss fight you ever had, Rodney? Go now.
Probably be man, what's the game? Hardest boss fight. Damn it.
Or most memorable boss fight.
Memorable boss fight is Psycho Mantis, PlayStation, Metal Gear Solid, where he tells you to put the controller down. He reads your memory card, knows what game you're playing from the memory card, and tells you what game you're playing, saying that he's reading your mind and how the controller vibrates. He vibrates it on the floor and he goes, "I'm now going to move your controller." And that blew my mind. I didn't know he was reading my memory card. Like, how the hell how the hell does he know what games I'm playing? And he actually tells you what games you're playing. Psycho Mantis. That's the most memorable boss fight I've ever had.
I remember
PlayStation
that.
one.
That's
Yeah.
phenomenal boss fight.
Yep.
That Metal Gear Solid was phenomenal.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite games of all time. Yeah.
Yeah, great game.
Mhm.
All right, Mike. Favorite boss fight.
Dude, I don't have any. I don't remember any. Like I just the only thing that would even be remotely comparable is like online Battlefield 4 for me, where I finally got good enough to, not suck. That's it.
I don't think Mike has a lot of experience with adventure games,
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. For me, I don't know. It's probably a God of War game or Mega Man 2, where you had to use the bubble gun to freaking beat the last boss. I don't know. But all right. Well, it's been fun, gentlemen.
All right, cool.
We'll
We'll end it there.
go play some video games. All right.
Okay.